Yo, what's up? This is Bboy Spaghetti from Norway, representing the King Wings crew. I've done a little documentary about rocking and all the past of b-boying and all that. Grew up in Norway, you know, people always tell me about the real hip-hop, the real rocking, the real b-boying, so I got curious and I got fed up with people giving me secondhand info. So I wanted to go to New York and see it for myself. I wanted to get a first-hand info. I wanted to talk to the originators and the pioneers of this hip-hop world. So I went out to Willie, Marine Boy, one of the first-generation rockers, and that was in the Bronx. And he told me a story, and it taught me a lot. And you know, man, it's crazy listening to it because it's so emotional, and it tells you so much of the things that you taught people didn't do back in the days, like flexible stuff with leg behind their necks. I mean, they got some sick shit going on there, you know what I mean? So, hope you guys enjoyed this footage, and peace and love.
So that's St. Mary's. This is the infamous St. Mary's. You know, and this park over here, by the way, that you're seeing behind us, this park was infamous. Back in the 70s, you couldn't walk through here at night because they would kill you. They would rob you, rape you, kill you. Maybe all three, depending, but it was really bad. We're the ones that helped change this whole thing around. My gang, my division helped change it around. We used to hide in the trees, behind the bushes and all that stuff, and we used to grab people, robbing people, and we would beat the shit out of them. That's when it stopped.
Yo, so we're sitting here with Willie, Marine Boy in New York and Bronx, all the way out from Norway to Bronx, and Willie's been teaching us and he's been schooling us about rocking and all this stuff from back in the day, so we're gonna ask Willie some questions and all. Willie, about like jerks and burns when it comes to rocking, where did they come out from? Because in Norway, I mean, a lot of us we do it, but we do it off watching videos. We do it off watching other people do it, so we haven't exactly understood the meaning to it or where it really comes from. So we're gonna ask you.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the Bronx perspective. You know, the way I saw it when growing up, and this is the same room we used to rehearse in when we were young, and the room I showed you before was the room where Rubber Band got killed and all that stuff. We used to all the dancers from throughout the city used to go there, the best dancers, because there was always competitions. But the first person I saw doing the jerk was Rubber Band, and then this other guy named Little, and there was another guy named Abichuela. We said all this in Fable's documentary, but the Lower East Side as well. I saw the jerk. And burns were here in the Bronx too. I remember, you know, we had them here too. But the burns were a little disrespectful. Guys doing stuff like putting their crotch in your face, grabbing your head and stuff like that. Crazy shit. And somebody do that to me, clap, you know, but that's the way it happened. And that's the reason why eventually we eliminated that, because there were fights behind that crap. You know, grabbing your privates and putting them in somebody's face and stuff like that, you know, that's not cool. We found that to be a little gay, you know, and disrespectful, so we stopped doing it. I can't speak for everybody else. I can just tell you from our perspective, from the Bronx, how we stopped doing it. And because we used to watch, me, myself, and a few other people that danced in my era said the same thing, like my partner Papo and Enoch. I used to stay up all night watching Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, the Nicholas Brothers, you know, and that's where I got some of my swagger from. And I would emulate some of the steps. Like, I'm gonna show you a step that I got from watching Fred Astaire. And people, a lot of people didn't do that in rocking, but it was a, like a tap dance step. Then I changed it. You know, and then I started playing around with it, and that's when I started doing this shit, you know? And then when we started doing it, so a lot of things I got from them, from watching them dance, you know, and then I would incorporate it into our rock. We started adding hand motion, you know, stuff like that. But Brooklyn, they kept that style. They still have that style. They made it better, you know, in some of the things they do. They made it better, but they still have the burning and the jerking that they do, you know, going down and stuff like that. You know, I did go down, but I used to do stuff like boom, boom, you know, stuff like that. I get tired really quick now. My legs are not as strong as they used to be, but when we did this 7 days a week, we were on the dance floor all night.
So there was a big difference between the way they did it in Brooklyn and the way it was done in Boston?
There was a big difference. And if you ask some of the old timers, like Joe and Chuck and several others, they'll tell you, especially Chuck, because Chuck was an original Bronx dance, Bronx guy. He moved from the Bronx to Brooklyn, and he recently wrote on one of the forums that, there was a huge difference between the styles, because we had eliminated all the rocking, putting shit in your face and stuff like that. We had eliminated that, and we did it from a distance, not from up in your face trying to, disrespect you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when,
yeah, it gets really,
we would get into fights after the stuff. Yo, man, you did that shit. Especially if they would lose a contest.
Especially if they
went out and get their boys and come back and try to beat the shit out of you.
Especially if there were girls and shit involved.
Oh yeah, big egos came out when the girls, you dissed me in front of my woman, blah, 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 and shit would happen, And that's when we would use our run fool. Just run! Not that it happened often, because more often than not, when we had a big presence, The Bronx guys and the Manhattan guys, we all got along. And I got along with the Brooklyn guys too, don't get me wrong. I remember one contest in particular at the Starship Discovery, and I saw this clip, and the reason I'm mentioning this just yesterday, where one of the guys who won that contest, he was talking about how they won first place, stuff like that. And he did. He beat me and my partner Papo. But the way we saw it that night, it was the Starship Discovery. They had a big Brooklyn crowd there, first of all. But they weren't really rockers like us. Like, we had routines, and we were good. We were like, the way I danced with the stylish stuff, And we both won the same prize. Trip to the Bahamas on a cruise line. So it didn't make a difference. First, second, we didn't get into fights. We got along with everybody. Now people lose and they get all mad. They go on the internet talking shit, and I'm like, wow, man, it's ridiculous. But to answer more your question in more detail, it was a thing that evolved throughout New York City. Nobody can really say with any 100% degree of accuracy that it was developed in one borough. Because it wasn't. It was a collaboration of all boroughs. Because remember, Manhattan was the melting pot. That's where all the best dancers went to all the clubs out there. Like the Red and White, the Ipanema, the Ruby Fruit, the Forbidden Fruit, the Fresh, the Kontiki, the Boomba Macau, the Bon Juan, the Lower East Side, Latin Times, the Grand Ballroom. All these clubs were very popular with dancers throughout the city. So nobody can ever say, we created that. Because I can't even say that. I can't say the Bronx created it. I can say who I saw doing it first. But then again, it was here that I saw it because this is where I lived. So if guys from Manhattan or from Queens or from Brooklyn say, oh, we did it first, we saw it first. No, you saw it first there because that's where you're from. But really, where a lot of people would get steps from and get better was by going to the Manhattan club. That's how I got better. Going to the Manhattan clubs and seeing for yourself the good dancers. Luckily for me, some of the best dancers in the city were from here, from the Bronx, like Rubber Band and Didi, who used to do some really nice spins, and I love that style because it was the same thing I saw Fred Astaire doing and Gene Carly, and the shit that they would do was elegant. Like when they would do a step, they were like, bah, boom, 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 bah, boom, boom, bah, dee, bah, bah, boom, 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 bah, and we added that to the rock steps that we used to do, boom, boom, bah, boom, boom, bah, boom, bah, boom, boom, bah, boom, 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 bah, boom, boom, shit like that. That's what I got from watching them, and stuff like boom, 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 bah, locking and stuff like that, and then like pushing off, and then going into other steps, But that was from watching everybody do it, not just from one place and one source, because nobody can ever say that. Whoever says that, oh, it got created here, doesn't know what they're talking about. We're trying to determine that now, as we speaking in the forums, and we're trying to get all the old timers, first generations, such as myself, to speak.
Willie, about Rubber Band. I mean, in the world today, because Wiggles really told me a lot about him, and he was one of the first people that was going down on the floor and also using a lot of his flexibility into his rocking and everything. Right. And the new generation don't know nothing about that. I mean,
well, Rubber Man, I'm gonna tell you the story, and actually, we're at the place where he actually died. So why don't I show you how it happened by coming with me? Come on. This is St. Mary's Recreation Center in the Bronx. In the South Bronx, USA, baby.
That's what's up.
Okay. The first place they started arguing was down in this hallway when we were coming upstairs. They were arguing right there. And I had stopped them from arguing. Then they came in here. This was the place where we danced every Tuesday and Thursdays. This is where everybody came from throughout the Bronx and Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens. This is where they would come. And the DJ booth was at the end over there. And this is the room. We had painted all superheroes up on the walls, which they took off now, but I had done, you know, most of those superheroes on the wall. Brother Man came in here, and Orlando, who's a 14-year-old kid, was still arguing with him over $1, by the way. It was over a loose joint that Brother Man sold to Orlando on credit, and then they were arguing about it in the hall because he hadn't paid him yet. $1. Back then in 1974, $1's going to get me a couple of, 32 ounces of beer, you know. So Orlando got disrespectful and Rubber Band slapped him. It happened right around here, because the DJ booth was over there. And I remember jumping down when I saw them arguing again. And when Rubber Band slapped him, actually Rubber Band was on this side, Orlando was on that side. Rubber Band slapped him, and Orlando went back like this. And this other guy who was here handed him a knife, a 007 with a 7-inch blade. And then there was a lot of girls in the way behind him, right there. And when the guy came out with the knife, like this, Rubber Band was like, he tried to move back with all these people in the way. And he stabbed him right here, one time, right here. And then Rubber Band went like this, and then all of a sudden, the guy went running out, and Rubber Band, the blood started coming out of his mouth. It's kind of gory. But then he lay down right here on the floor, and me and Dee Dee, because I came running down. I saw the whole thing. I came running down off the DJ booth. I jumped down, I came over here, and I'm like, clear out, clear out. And then we carried him, because he was bleeding through his mouth. We carried him down the stairs. But he pretty much died in my arms and Dee Dee's arms because we were carrying him, and I had him to go up a torso, and Dee Dee was on the other side, and a couple of the other guys had him through his feet. And the worst thing we could have done was move him, but we didn't know. We were kids. You know what I'm saying? I was 17 years old. Rubber Band, actually I had just turned 18. And Rubber Band was 21, because he was 3 years older than me. So he died downstairs. That's the story of Rubber Band. But he was let's go back to the room. I don't want to leave the stuff out there. He was the first one I saw doing the jerk from the Bronx. Let's go back over here.
Willie, where was it? He died in the end? Was it?
Well, when we brought Rubber Band downstairs, he died right around here, and we carried him down, and then we brought him over here. And the ambulance came from up to the front, because that thing didn't used to be there, and stopped right here. We had him around here, and then we helped put him on the gurney and put him on the ambulance. When they took him, they say he died on the way, but he pretty much died right around here. Yeah. He was gone. So anyway, to answer your question, the rocking, I hope you guys enjoyed that part of history, because that's where it happened. It's still fresh in my head. But the breaking part came also, not going to say it came originally in the Bronx. I don't want to get into no debates with nobody. That's the way I saw it here first. And the best dancers I ever seen mostly came from here, like Rubber Band, Dee Dee. There was another guy called Rubberneck and Richie, used to live right up the block from here. There was a bunch of guys who danced rock. There were some of us who were better than others, but everybody was doing it throughout the whole city. And because the Bronx had places like this where we did it during the week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, everybody and their mothers came here. All the pretty girls wanted to come and watch all the dancers, because remember, we were not only doing rock, we were dancing the hustle as well. So that was very popular dance. The Latin hustle is still to this day my most favorite, because you get to dance with a girl, not against some guy trying to put his shit in your face. You know what I'm saying? So the jerking, like I said, who I saw it, the burns that I first saw was before I even started dancing. When I was growing up, they would do like the outlaw rocking shit, and they would do all this crazy shit. But then in the early 70s, I started seeing it more in places like even here. They would do it. And it led to fights. And we had, how many fights we had to stop because they were grabbing another guy's head and putting their shit in, jumping up in the air. Yeah. It was literally, they jump up in the air, grab your head and put your head in, which was you know, after that, damn, disrespectful, you know, so we had stopped doing it, and guys like Bob and Enoch, who were pioneers as well, who were really, really good, and they actually were doing it before I was, by a short time, not by much, because I was already dancing, but I was doing a lot of hustle. But those guys, you know, especially Enoch, because Enoch was one of the best I ever saw. They would inspire, you know, and then I started seeing Rubber Band and the moves he would do, and he would grab his hat, and he would do spins and grab his hat, and his leg would be out here. Like if he did a spin, he would go down low and shit like that, you know. He would do stuff like that, you know, and then he would go down and shit and do these crazy floor moves that he did. You know, he was flexible. He put his leg over his, like what you do.
Yeah.
He would do that shit and then come out of there and do another move, and we were like, holy shit, you know. And I have to say that from what I've seen, you know, dance evolve, you know, from the original, like today I was watching this thing that somebody put up, and these black dancers dancing, and the stuff they did was amazing. I was like, holy shit, you know, like, so I gotta give a lot of credit to Africa. The style though, the style, the way it changed, I would have to say was more urban, you know, Hispanic stuff. You know, the rock definitely came from Spanish, you know. And you had Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans doing it, but you had the black doing it too, and you know, Afro-Americans were doing it too, and the Afro-Americans were the ones that we first saw doing the breakdancing. But Rubber Band was doing those type of moves before breakdancing even came out.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Okay, so he was doing those kind of floor moves, so I'm thinking that, you know, where did he get it from? I don't know, I can't tell you where he got it from. I know he was an innovator. I'm sure that, you know, he probably seen somebody else doing something like that, and then he just added his own flavor to it. Because you got to remember, like, you know, back in the 30s, they had all these great dancers, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire. Where did they get it from? You know, I mean, even though they were innovators too, the idea of it, you know, where did it come from? And you saw this other guy doing it back in the roaring 20s, you know, before you and shit like that, you know. And before that, you know, you saw other people from the Latin nations, like South America, stuff like that, and their little tribal rituals, which they would do, like the war dances and all that stuff. Even the Native Americans, you know, had their own tribal dances and stuff like that. So I would have to say that it's a mesh of different dances from different places that got all convoluted because people added flavor from everything, and that's where you got your different style from, of course. But I think that it all came from, you know, different parts of the world, you know, and it came all together, and then, you know, different styles were born from that stuff. But I can never for myself figure out where it all originated from. I would be like an idiot to even try to answer that question. Where did it start? I don't know where it started, but I like it.
Where was Rubber Band originally from?
From Puerto Rico. And Rubber Band didn't speak English that well. He was what we call a hiba, or a hick, you know, from the sticks, you know. And, you know, he would talk like Tony Montana, almost like that. You know what I'm talking about? You know, chuno. And he would learn the bad words. And he would tell him, you know, hey, watch your language. He said, what? You want some sandwich? You know, and he would make fun and shit like that. But Rubber Band was from the Bronx. And then from here, and he would, like my boy said, he was a Rolling Stone. He went into Brooklyn, into Queens, into Manhattan, and he took his legend, and he was a legend, you know. His name was famous back even in those days. Now he's, you know, he's a legend, but back in those days, his name was famous. And everywhere you went, you asked, hey, you heard of Rubber Band? Yeah, man, that dude is, because everybody talked about him, you know. When he went to wherever he went, people just watch him dance. He was that good. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I know that there were people before claiming that he was from Brooklyn and stuff like that, and he kind of was a little bit, because he left a little bit of himself in Brooklyn, but that's because his mother moved there, you know, in the early 70s. But he was originally from the Bronx. No, originally from Puerto Rico. Then he came here. And by the way, his first name, I'm not going to tell you his last name, which I know, but I'm going to tell you his first name. His first name, Rubber Band's name, anybody who knows him will know his first name was Jaime, which is another hit name. Jaime, hey Jaime. Hey, Jaime, sounds like Jaime. What else?
And if you say one of the most important thing when it comes to dancing, what would you put your most emphasis on? Like, what would you say, this is like, for me, this is the most important thing for a dancer to have?
Rhythm. Rhythm, you gotta have rhythm. You gotta feel the music, you know, and like, the music transposes you. The music is what creates the steps. And to every song, different song, you come up with different steps depending on the lyrics, on the melody, on the rhythm of the song. So I would say if you have rhythm, you could do a lot with that, because the key is to always be on beat, whether it's fast or slow. You have to be on beat. And you have to be one with the music. And you close your eyes and you feel the music, and it takes over you, and you start doing like what you do. Because you feel the music when you're doing that, and the steps you're doing it with so much elegance, and flexibility, you're doing it to the music. It's the same thing whether you're doing it slow or fast. Slow or fast is to feel the beat. Close your eyes and feel the beat, because the beat will guide you. Okay, just feel the beat. That's it. That's the most important to me, is for you to have rhythm. Feel the beat. And from there, you'll see and feel the music. You see, they transcend your form. I certainly do. When I get in a groove, when I really feel a song, I don't see anything else around me. All I see and feel is the music. My body is describing what the music is saying to me. And that's where the moves come from the rhythm of the beat. And it comes with a lot of emotion too, because sometimes I hear a song that the melody is so sweet and mellow that you have to feel it, and like some of the things you do, and then all of a sudden, it gets faster and you start shaking your shoulders, or whatever it is, or snapping your head, or whatever it is. But as long as you feel the beat and you feel the music inside of you, you become one with the music, and that's the best way I can describe it. You become one with the music.
If I will ask you one last question, Willie, it will be about, if you say, because you said back in the days it was like, to grow up you had to be in a gang.
Oh yeah.
Like everywhere you were, to be a part of the society, kind of, you had to be a part of a gang as well. Like, but also you said that when the dancing came, the gang thing naturally faded out. It started fading out.
Yes.
So would you say like dancing was something that really saved like people from a lot of gang banging and a lot of stuff? Because we hear it a lot like in hip hop that says, yeah, hip hop saves you, or it's dancing saved you and all that, but it's just a lot of talks, But when it comes to you guys' generation in your time, because you told me that when dancing came, a lot of this gang thing just like faded out, and it was so natural for everybody to go towards the dance thing. So I'm just asking you, was it really like that? Like
Yeah, if you were in a gang when you were growing up, then you got bullied and picked on. They'd take your lunch money, slap you up, beat you up, on a daily basis. So, you had to be part of a gang in order to get protected, because from the other gangs. Because if people knew you were with this other gang, they were less likely to mess with you, because then you incur the wrath of the rest of the gang, Like, for instance, one time we had a dance here, and on a Tuesday night, right, and one of my brothers, my oldest brother, lived on Cypress Avenue, which is a really bad neighborhood, right? It still is, by the way. But back in them days, it was even worse, though. It was like the Wild Wild West here. This is the South Bronx. Now it's not as bad as it used to be. There's still some little areas that they drugs and all that stuff. But to answer your question, that day, one of his friends came looking for me. Yo, what's Willie? And found me. And remember, we were all gang members. The guys who would throw the dance and all that, we were the Imperial Bachelors, And he said, somebody's messing with your brother. And we all, like 50 of us, ran over there. And when we were getting there, we saw the guys, and one of them I went to high school with, and he was this tall dude. And he was messing with my brother, not with my brother. My brother was not a punk, but there was a few of them. There were like 10 of them. And we surrounded them all. They didn't know we were coming from them. And we surrounded them, but they didn't run and slapped them up and shit like that. They never messed with them again. But yeah, you had to be part of a gang. But the gangs, the way I got out of gangs was through my dance. And to be honest with you, I had seen so much death and stuff like that and senseless killings. By the time I was 17, that's when I joined the Marines, and from here, that's when they started calling me Marine Boy, I didn't wear my dags today, but I usually wear them. But yeah, I would say that when I came back, gangs were still around, and they were, but they had dissipated because of dancing, hustle, and rock. And remember that battling stuff that we used to do, that was another way to relieve the tension by battling against other groups and stuff like that. And even though there would still be fights, because some of the moves were too disrespectful, some were able to pull it off and keep it going, and keep it. And they would say, stand back, like don't get too close, because if by mistake you hit somebody's face, something like that, it's going to be on, But like, cause in Brooklyn they still do that stuff, you know. That's not personally my favorite style. And I like to watch it when it's done right. When two guys that are really good do it, I like watching it because it's like almost like choreographed. The way they do it, they against each other and going down, you know. It looks cool. I like it. But there's many others who do it too sloppy and they stand around too much, you know, doing nothing. Our dance was perpetual. It was non-stop dancing, period. You were always moving, and if you were staying in one spot, you were still doing something with your feet and stuff like that, not just standing there, you know, waiting for the beat or for the break to come. We never did that. But that's when routines came in, which was, I would say, like in the mid, you know, like in the late mid-70s. That's when routines really started coming into play. And then routines were the way that we battled in contests and stuff like that. And it wasn't really battling against each other, because it was like one group of guys would go on the dance floor and everybody would see them and they would do their routine and clap and stuff. And then another couple of guys would come up and do their routine. And that's the way they judged it. They weren't facing each other. The last contest that I ever danced and that we faced each other was at this club called the Bonsoir. And it was me and my partner Willie Whip against some guys from the Lower East Side and from Brooklyn and Manhattan. And we took first place, and we beat this guy named Leo and Cool Breeze. And this is back in the, you know, mid-70s. I would say that one wasn't like 75 or 76 the latest. I think it was more like 75 that happened. And then after that, I never danced in another contest like that one, where, you know, you were facing your opponents, stuff like that. I would like to thank the guys from Brooklyn for keeping this dance alive. You know, guys like, you know, RC, King of Rock, and guys like PJ, who's one of the moderators from the club. And even though we had our differences, you know, I thank them for keeping this dance alive, you know, and bringing to light the history. And even though it wasn't told correctly initially, it's corrected now. And going forward, I still got to give them much love over there. But I got to thank, and in particular, guys like Fable, Mr. Fable Pavon, Pop Master Fable, and Mr. Wiggles, you know, for finding me and for, you know, kind of bringing me back to life. I got to thank them, especially, you know, Fable and Wiggles. But for everybody else that showed me love out there, you know, and this dance is a beautiful thing, and I'm hoping that someday I can visit some of the world, you know, and participate and see dances from Russia and Norway, and I see a lot of great dances out there, and I'm amazed at, you know, some of the stuff that they do. You know, it's incredible. So I just want to give a shout out to the world and say I love you all from the heart, and I hope that, you know, one day I can meet you all. Not in heaven. Yeah.
Willie Marine boy, thank you.
My man, I want to give my man here a big shout out too, because this guy's an incredible dancer. So I'm honored to be sitting here with him, because this guy's amazing, and I can't wait to see more of his stuff, you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're amazing, bro.
Thank you, brother.